Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Joanne. I am a law student from Melbourne and we look at a whole variety of different things. I popped on as a surprise live because my phone has been going off crazy with all these different alerts of events that are happening at the moment. The coroner, as we speak, is releasing the findings on what happened to Melissa Caddick, and the national broadcaster has been covering that, so we might look at what they've got to say. Also, wanted to give you an update with the 95-year-old that was tasered. If you've read my community posts, unfortunately, she passed away late yesterday. Now that police officer has been charged. Had received assault charges yesterday. Within an hour, it was interesting. Within hours of the news coming through that the police officer had been charged, the news came out that she had gone, that she had left us. There is talk whether the charges will be upgraded and what they could be upgraded to. It's been some interesting, I'm on a couple of law forums at the moment, and there's some disagreement as to what he should be charged with or what he could be charged with, remembering that different states have different types of laws. So in my state, it would probably be manslaughter, and it would be up to the defense to show if it was reckless. So where I think New South Wales has different levels of manslaughter. One we do have that is unique is workplace manslaughter. In my state, this came in last year, so that employers can actually be charged with manslaughter if an employee dies on the job and it is found that it was due to the negligence of the employer. Because as we know, there are some employers that like to save money and take some shortcuts. So if it's actually found that you've taken some shortcuts in your business and an employee dies in my state, you could be charged with industrial manslaughter. I think that's the term of it. So, as I said, there's a whole range of debates at the moment. So let's cut across. First of all, let's talk about Melissa Caddick. So Melissa Caddick was somebody who, and let's not forget it, that Tina Turner has passed away as well. We've lost another legend. And I didn't realise that the nutbush was something synonymous with Australia. So I wasn't aware of that people don't know, people overseas aren't necessarily sure of the nutbush dance. That surprised me as well. So if you're watching, please let me know that you can hear me and everything. Christine says you're wondering what was happening with the Caddick case. Grant, the discussion would be interesting. Hello, Grant. Yes, the discussion between lawyers are actually interesting. Whether in fact they should upgrade the charge. The interesting thing is that they would actually have to prove that the injury, that her death was related to the tasering. So, it's a very interesting. The discussions from the lawyers have been very, very interesting, and it's unlikely it would be murder, because murder is usually there's an intent. There has to be, an intent where the intent was to get a steak knife off her. As ridiculous as that sounds. So let's start off with Melissa Caddick. Now, I believe, according to the live coverage, and let's just say her husband doesn't come out very, very nice either. So we're going to go through as to what's been reported. So this is from the Australian Broadcast Corporation. This is from the national broadcaster. So the coroner is releasing the findings as we speak. So I'm about as live as you can get. Okay, we're about as live as we can get. So without me being there, and then we'll go on to the other case. So first of all, the judge has ruled that Caddick is no longer alive. Okay, that's what the coroner has found, that she is no longer with us. I'm going to just take off this chat overlay so you can see this. So it's been 2.5 years since Melissa Caddick vanished into thin air. The coroner heard weeks and weeks of evidence. So for those of you that don't know, she was discovered of defrauding people of millions of dollars, including family members. And there was a raid on her home to grab, to investigate it. There was court cases. I think the business that she had was due to be in court, and she just disappeared. She went for a run in the morning and disappeared, and a foot appeared out of nowhere. So she was last seen alive. So this is what we know. She was last seen alive in 2020. I should have just read ahead. I didn't show you. I haven't even read it. They were investigating the Ponzi scheme, which she was running. And there was between $20 to $30 million in losses. Her husband reported his wife missing more than 30 hours after he says she went for a walk the morning after the raid. And she went home. She left the home without her phone, wallet, keys on November 12 at about 5:50 a.m. And nobody has seen or heard from her since. So 3 months after she disappeared, a foot appeared on the beach. They investigated several theories that Caddick had gone to ground or had suffered significant injury. And the third theory was that she had taken her own life. So Deputy State Coroner Elizabeth Wayne has found Caddick is deceased, but the manner of her death remains unsolved. Hello, Bella, how are you? So she says, I have concluded that Melissa Caddick is deceased. However, a more problematic issue is whether the evidence is sufficient to enable a positive finding as to how she died or when or where this happened. So they've got reporters, so the ABC is saying they've got reporters that are inside the coroner's court. So the magistrate Ryan says ASIC suspected Caddick stole in excess of $23 million at the time her home was raided. The clients were shocked and felt a profound sense of betrayal. To many, their losses represented all the money they had saved their lives for, retirement, for the children's education. The financial and emotional harm that they have suffered will reverberate for many years to come. Magistrate Ryan says Caddick strived to create an impression of wealth and success, and this was integral to her alleged scheme. Following the discovery of her crimes, she may have suffered narcissistic injury, according to the evidence presented at the inquest. The ASIC investigation and search warrant very likely caused her catastrophic level of despair. She may have reached the conclusion that ending her life was the only option. Yeah, I'm not too bad, Bella. I'm just home. Today's like one of my few days home, so hence why I'm able to be live today. And you know, with the events of happening with the Caddick inquest and the tasering, I thought it would be a great time to come live. All right. So the decomposing foot washing up on the beach 450 kilometres south of Sydney became a pivotal moment in the case. The foot encased in a sneaker matched Miss Caddick's DNA. So a sneaker, for those of you that aren't from Australia, is sports footwear, sneakers. What else? Sand shoes. I think sand shoes they've been called. I don't know what you call them over there. We call them sneakers. Magistrate Ryan said this discovery did not necessarily mean she died. Autopsy alone doesn't enable a finding that she is deceased. But she pointed to inquest evidence to show it was unlikely Miss Caddick had cut off her own foot or had someone else do it. It is most unlikely that Melissa Caddick's foot separated from her body as a result of a deliberate act to sever it. So she looked at the police investigation. One of the first detectives formed the view that Caddick hadn't been harmed by anyone. Having regard to all the evidence, I have concluded it was premature to have dismissed this possibility. One of the matters I've taken into account is the widespread concern which police officers held as to the truthfulness of her husband. The investigation ought to have been referred to Homicide Squad at an early stage. Magistrate Ryan said the failure to do so created the risk that crucial information might have been lost. She accepted this was only speculation and an earlier referral may not have resulted in useful evidence. Now, this is to me, how about the hockey game PC? The locals know what happened to Melissa. Yes. Oh, look, somebody knows what's happened. I'm certain that somebody knows what's happened. I mean, this I think is interesting. The Deputy State Coroner has concluded that Miss Caddick's husband, Anthony Caddick, chose to make statements that were simply untrue. She said he made statements both to police investigating his wife's disappearance and to the coroner throughout the inquest. His evidence was riddled with inconsistencies and confusions, she said. She said this invites a question as to why he'd been unwilling to provide a frank account of what happened between November 11 and 13, 2020, before reporting her missing. I have concluded during that period he had some awareness of Miss Caddick's movements over the previous 2 days, but chose not to disclose it. I always wondered whether he knew more than what he let on. So we'll just now update that. So this is, as I said, this is just live. This is as live as we can get. So that's the latest. That's the latest that we've got at the moment, and we'll come back to it. I think we'll come back and see. So this is happening live, as I said. We're about as live as you can get. I'm wondering, I wonder whether there's anything that they could do, whether he could get charged with perverting the course of justice. I'm just wondering. I'm not sure. Or whether there's something that he could do, because, I mean, she believes that that he wasn't entirely truthful to her. So could he be done with perjury? It's very interesting, isn't it? But it's been 2 years, as I said. So we know. So the coroner has concluded that she's deceased. Melissa Caddick is deceased. What is unknown, and what is unknown is where it happened and how it happened. So, yeah, I'm just wondering whether there's any comeback for the fact that he told untruths. But anyway, so that's 17 minutes ago that occurred. All right, so we're going to just do a little bit of a segue, and we'll come back to Melissa Caddick. So if you're here for Melissa Caddick, because as the ruling's being revealed right now, and we're just seeking updates from the media organisation that's reporting on it. We just have to leave it at that. Then we will click over to the 95-year-old. So as I said, there's lots of legal talk now over whether the charges can be upgraded, what the charges could be upgraded to. So she passed away last night, Claire Nowland. So an elderly grandmother tasered by police during an incident at a Cooma nursing home has died. She died peacefully in hospital just after 7 p.m. on Wednesday, surrounded by her family and loved ones. She had dementia, was hospitalised in a critical condition after falling and fracturing her skull during the confrontation with the officers. Police previously said they had been called to the facility and found Mrs. Noland holding a serrated steak knife and using a walking frame before the taser was deployed. That, to me, that whole statement makes no sense. I mean, in the fact of releasing a taser because somebody's holding a knife and with a walking frame. Presumably, she's got two hands on the walking frame and the knife is sitting in her hand. Couldn't they have just gone up behind her and pulled it out of her hand? Because if she had a walking frame, she needs two hands to use the walking frame. Anyway, New South Wales Premier Chris Minns expressed his condolences to the Noland family in a press conference on Thursday. He said, obviously, this is a very traumatic event and would have been particularly bad for the family. So, and they've named the officer. I'm not going to name the officer, but it's there because it is there. It's in the article. You can read it. Was charged earlier on Wednesday evening with reckless causing grievous bodily harm, assault causing actual bodily harm, and common assault. Now, the fact that they've done, see, this is what the lawyers are arguing. The first charge of recklessly causing grievous bodily harm, recklessly. So therefore, whatever if they're going to increase the charges, whatever it is, the defence is going to be reckless. But yeah, so he's suspended from duty on full pay and he's due to appear on court on July 5th. Now remember, there is still also a presumption of innocence. It's only alleged, okay? Because everything is alleged until proven in a court of law, okay? Get a glove from the kitchen. Yeah, see, I don't, as I said, that to me makes no sense. I still can't fathom a 95-year-old being such a threat that you would be fearful of your life to discharge a taser. New South Wales Police Commissioner Karen Webb earlier said it was possible for the charges against the senior constable to be upgraded if the circumstances were to change. In New South Wales, you are innocent until proven guilty, and he's afforded the same as any other resident. It's just possible charges could be upgraded. It depends on what happens. That's correct. And believe it or not, it's also in the country's constitution too. That's one of the rights that you have. So, you know, Commissioner Webb had previously said she'd not seen body cam footage. The Commissioner said she wanted to read footage when she had a clearer picture of what happened. Pressure has been growing for the New South Wales Police Minister Yasmin Catley to view the vision over concerns public confidence in the force has been eroded. Mr. Minns said he continues to have confidence in both Commissioner Webb and the Police Minister as inquiries take place. It's important for the police to be able to do their job, and the investigation shouldn't be hindered by political interference. I would reassure the people of New South Wales that this incident has been investigated by senior, experienced detectives from the Homicide Squad, and it's now resulted in charges. So, there you go. There is just so much more that we don't know. Look, the only other thing, unless the police footage shows that she lunged, look, if the footage shows that she lunged at him, maybe we could, see it. But, so this is, this was last night. Yes, so this was last night. The police commissioner speaking. I don't know. I thought things were going to change when they got rid of the last police commissioner because Friendly Geordies had shown that there was some questions. But anyway, let's have a listen to what she's got to say.
New South Wales Police have commenced legal action against a 33-year-old senior constable from Monaro Police District for the offences of recklessly inflict grievous bodily harm, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, and assault. This matter now is before the court, and there's little more than I can say about it, other than to say that the Nowland family have been informed of this development, and our thoughts and prayers are with Mrs. Nowland and her family this evening. This has been traumatic for everyone in the police force, and this is one matter while the rest of the police force continues to do their job 24/7 to protect and look after the citizens of New South Wales.
Sorry, I'm a chef and worked at homes. It's what I would have done, even though I'd probably get in trouble for playing with the residents. I have contract that. So you would have gotten a glove from the kitchen. But see, I want to know, Grant, you've worked in homes. How did she have access to a serrated knife? And why wasn't the kitchen locked? See, I have questions. I mean, my grandma, when she was in a home, she was wheelchair bound, so she couldn't go anywhere without somebody pushing her, you know, and she had dementia as well, and she got violent, but their staff were trained in how to de-escalate the violence from, I mean, we were really embarrassed with the fact that she was, because I would have said to you, she would not harm a soul, but you know, dementia does really weird things to people. You know, particularly if they think that they're not safe. You know, I think somebody shared in the comment section that their grandmother thought they were at school and had dementia and was found naked, you know, running down the street. So, you know, they do really weird things when they have to. You know, sorry, they do really weird things, but they don't know that they did them, and they're very embarrassed when it's found out. And in fact, if I remember rightly, they think that you're not telling them the truth. So, it's not a prison. Yes, trained staff would not call the police. So, I think, so apparently that it's run by the Monaro Council. So Monaro Council has provided residents and staff with trauma counsellors at the aged care facility. They've sent, we've been assisting both New South Wales Police and Aged Care Quality Safety Commission investigation. So there's also an investigation into the facility, as I think there should be, because as Grant says, trained staff would not call the police. You know, the nurse would handle it. So, yeah, there's just so many questions. And as I said yesterday, if she was holding a walker, she had a serrated knife in her hand. I don't understand why they could not have come up and like the group of them couldn't have, you know, someone talked to her and distracted her and the other one got the knife out. Or is that only ever happened in Hollywood? Yeah. Well, you know, again, it's the employer has put their, I guess, staff at risk. I mean, I don't think the nursing home or the council is going to come out looking good, in my opinion, because, yeah, it's and I think that's the issue. Even people that work in aged care are going, this home is giving us a bad reputation, because everyone's now questioning what's happening in aged care facilities. Because this should not have happened. This should not have happened at all. Let's be honest. It should not have happened. Okay. So let's go to the third story that we want to talk about. I mean, there's lots we could talk about. We could talk about stuff all day. Tina Turner. She, dubbed the Queen of Rock and Roll, passed away at 83. Simply the best. What's love got to do with it? The good old nutbush. She died peacefully after a long illness in her home near Zurich, Switzerland, her publicist has revealed. The American-born singer left a hard-scrabble farming community and abusive relationship to become one of the all-time top recording artists of all time. Mick Jagger said he was saddened by Turner's death, calling her enormously talented. She was inspiring, warm, funny, generous, helped me so much when I was young, and I will never forget her. Actor Angela Bassett, who played Turner in the 1993 movie, asked, "How do we say farewell to a woman who owned her pain and trauma and used it as a means to help change the world?" Through her courage telling her story, her commitment to stay the course in her life, no matter the sacrifice, and her determination to carve out a space in rock and roll for herself and for others who look like her, Tina Turner showed others who lived in fear what beautiful future filled with love, compassion, and freedom looked like. While we mourn the loss of this iconic voice and presence, she gave us more than we could ever ask for. She gave us her whole self, and Tina Turner is a gift that will always be simply the best. Bryan Adams says the world has just lost one powerhouse of a woman. Mariah Carey described her as an inspiration to women everywhere who will continue to inspire for generations to come. Bette Midler called Turner an absolute brilliant performer and inspiration. John Fogerty, who wrote Proud Mary, said he was so deeply sad. I loved her version of Proud Mary. It was different and fantastic. I was also so happy because she chose my song and it was her breakthrough record. So, yes, she was an icon of the 80s, as we know. Her 1988 show in Rio de Janeiro drew 180,000 people, which remains one of the largest concert audiences for any single performance. So her nutbush, she was born Anna Mae Bullock in rural Tennessee community of Nutbush, which she described in her 1973 song Nutbush City Limits as a quiet little old community, a one-horse town. It's interesting that that's what she said. So, and then that goes on to talk about Ike. And there she is. And there we go. So rest in peace, Tina Turner. This was a performance that she did in 1993 in Sydney, called Simply the Best. So yes, she was somebody. She never played the victim. She just went from strength to strength and strength. So yeah. So look, that seems to be all right. So the next fact. Oh, so now let's go back. Let's segue back to Melissa Caddick again, because the next lot of information has just come in. Claims that Caddick was mistreated during the raid dismissed. So Miss Caddick's family, along with her husband, claimed that Miss Caddick was seriously mistreated. I'll just switch off this chat overlay again. By ASIC and the AFP officers raiding her home. Mr. Khaledi alleged that his wife died as a direct result of ASIC's negligence, cruelty, and inhumanity, while her mother made a similar claim. However, the deputy coroner has refuted this and also dismissed the allegations. Ms. Caddick was denied food, water, or medication during the raid. There is no evidence that in the execution of the search warrant, the involved ASIC and AFP officers acted improperly, disregarded the welfare of Ms. Caddick or her family, exceeded their powers, or took disproportionate measures to ensure the integrity of the search she found. So yes, so there were allegations that. So Coletti was trying to blame ASIC and the AFP for the fact that whatever happened to Caddick, and the coroner has said no. There's no evidence to show that there was anything untoward done by ASIC or the AFP, that they actually just did what they were supposed to do, and that includes ensuring the welfare of the person that they're raiding. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on all of this? Because we've had a bit of information today, haven't we, between Melissa Caddick's coroner findings, which are still happening, the charges against the police officer, whether they'll be upgraded or not, yet still to be determined. The fact that, and of course, the Queen of Rock and Roll passing away. There's lots of it's just crazy stuff happening at the moment. I just saw another really scary story. Oh, I feel bad for her. Oh, of course, I feel bad for her son. Oh, and don't forget, then there was the shooting in Perth yesterday. How did a 15-year-old get 2 rifles? Like, seriously. Also, Port Augusta prison is in lockdown after an inmate escaped cells to retrieve contraband. Things are just going really, really, the world's going mad. What is wrong? Something else that I just saw really, really bizarre. Yeah, here we go. All right, so here we go. Look at this. If you think this is just craziness, I looked at this, I saw this story, and I thought, first of all, I was really surprised that this happened in Australia, because this doesn't happen in Australia. Fortunately, though, nobody was killed. So, boy remains in custody after allegedly firing gun at Atlantis Beach Baptist College in Two Rocks. A teenager who allegedly fired shots at his former school as students. Teachers took cover inside, remains in custody after being arrested at the scene as detectives try to piece together what happened. Police allege the 15-year-old boy took 2 high-powered rifles from his home. How? Why? And went to Atlantis Baptist College, about 60 kilometres north of Perth city centre, where he fired at least 3 shots at the school, one of which penetrated the building. The school was placed in lockdown, and students and staff sheltered in classrooms, with several pupils, including a 12-year-old, ringing 000 and providing valuable information for first responders. The 15-year-old was arrested in the school car park, and nobody was injured. In a post on social media yesterday, the school expressed its gratitude to those that helped keep the students safe. We thank God for the protection of our college staff and students today, it said. The WA Police Service was swift in their response time and supported us through the ordeal. In a statement, the Atlantis Beach Baptist College Board Chair Mike Smith said police had taken control of the situation. Mr. Smith said the school would remain closed today but would reopen tomorrow under a modified teaching program so that students could receive counselling. The college will reopen in full capacity with regular teaching program on Monday. The college board would like to thank the staff, administration team and the West Australian Police for the way in which this incident was managed. WA Police Commissioner yesterday expressed his deep shock at the incident and he said, which he said was unlike anything that he'd ever experienced in his career. We will certainly look into every aspect of this investigation to understand how a 15-year-old is allegedly in possession of 2 long-armed rifles and has shot into a school in these terrible circumstances. How does a 15-year-old get hold of 2 lethal weapons and fire them in the school area? That is the question I've got. Now, I believe that they're supposed to be locked, I believe. Anyway, he said there'll be a comprehensive investigation into what happened, and major crime detectives will question the boy's parents and associates, as well as examining his electronic devices. Wow! That is unbelievable. 15. I'm making assumptions here, but I sort of get the feeling he's been kicked out of school or suspended from school or something. Something's happened that's triggered him. I'm not making excuses, but I mean, they've said former school. So obviously there's been an issue there because it's a Christian private school. So yes, I am making some assumptions here. So, and as if things couldn't get worse, could not guess where a Melbourne couple is to face court for allegedly keeping a slave in their Point Cook home. This is on the same side of the city as me. This is happening in my own area. Hello. What is happening with people? Melbourne couple are set to face court, charged with modern-day slavery offences after allegedly keeping a woman as a slave in their home. It's alleged the pair exercised coercive control over the woman, limited her movements, and physically assaulted her in their home in Melbourne's southwest for 10 months between January and October 2022. The man, 44, and woman, 29, were charged with possessing a slave, using coercion and threats to cause another person to enter into and remain in servitude, and exercising control over a slave. The Australian Federal Police said the property was raided in October last year after a tip-off from a healthcare worker who allegedly noticed signs of human trafficking in a woman. This is the thing, and this is what Katie Joy needs to pay attention to. There are professionals that recognise a healthcare worker. I picked it up. The AP said it had seen an increased reports of modern-day slavery and human trafficking, with 294 reports recorded in 2021-22 financial year compared to previous years. So they're facing the magistrates' court today. If convicted, they will 25 maximum sentence of 25 years in jail. Detective Superintendent Simone Butcher said the AFB actively engaged in education for first responders, healthcare professionals and community to help them recognise the indicators of human trafficking and slavery. Everyone can play a role in stopping human trafficking. We encourage anyone who suspects human trafficking or sees something suspicious to report it. Yes, you report it to authorities. You don't talk about it. You don't make allegations on a YouTube channel. Without the assistance of communities, victims may go undetected and we would not be able to provide victims with the help and support they need. So, wow, there you go. That shook me up. As I said, that's sort of in my area. I mean, I live in southwest Melbourne. So, yeah, that's pretty freaky. That's pretty freaky for me. All right, so there's another update on Melissa Caddick. Ooh. Caddick portrayed family and friends. So this is now we're going to watch some coverage here. So let's watch this.
Their feelings of personal loss must surely have been compounded by the shock of learning that the money they too had entrusted with her had gone. Nevertheless, they loved her, and their grief and sadness continued. Ms. Caddick's family and so many others affected by her actions have long been living in doubt and uncertainty. This inquest sought to find answers to their questions. The issues that were examined at the inquest were, firstly, could the evidence establish that Ms. Caddick had died? And if so, is the evidence sufficient to find how, when, and where she died? Creating an impression of wealth and success was clearly integral to the confidence which Ms. Caddick inspired within her clients. In the words of one investor, she, quote, presented an amazingly beautiful image of success, both financially and personally. To judge from the statements provided by her clients, Ms. Caddick also possessed to a high degree the personal skills and attributes needed to develop and maintain a scheme of this nature. Her clients consistently described her as confident, organised, intelligent, very structured. Importantly, she was also highly skilled in forming personal connections with them. Women in particular were impressed by Ms. Caddick's expressed desire to empower them by building their financial independence. Ms. Caddick could not have succeeded without the unquestioning trust of her clients. Ms. Caddick's investors were not merely her clients. Almost all were either immediate family members or close personal friends of herself and her family. Her mother and father, her brother and his friends, her aunt and uncle, school friends, old friends of her parents, all had complete faith in her integrity, and they never imagined that she was capable of betraying it.
So there you go. That is the statement from the coroner. So they feel betrayed by her. So it's fascinating, isn't it? So the coroner hasn't been able to answer some of those questions, though, as we know. We know the coroner is not able to answer how she died, when she died, but believes that the only evidence that there is that we know that she is deceased. So the question is, will we ever know what really happened? Now, you've also got to bear in mind that because of the son's age, they did not speak. He was not required to talk to the inquest. He was spoken to by police in the investigation, of course, but that evidence was put there. The coroner did not want to upset him or burden him. Yeah, I'd say so. I think, Terry, that's a really good, that might be a good summation of it, that she passed on. There is the theory that she went into the ocean and that foot being washed up was the remains after this, sharks and everything had gotten to her. I think it's going to be a bit like Harold Holt. We'll never really know. But see, while there was never anything found of Harold Holt, her foot washed up, and she. And the other thing is, I guess, for many of her victims, is that they'll feel that she'll never have to actually confront them or face the music for what's happened, and that must be hard for them. Because she'll never get the punishment. Or did she get the punishment? Is that now that she has passed, is that punishment for what she did? It's a very interesting very interesting. Very interesting. I'm sorry, I keep scratching my face. My face is really itchy this morning. I don't know. I think I changed soap, so I think it's just irritated me a little bit. So I apologize for that. I'm very much aware that I'm touching my face a lot. Yeah, it's just really bizarre, all of this. And they did do there was a funeral for Melissa Caddick 2 years ago when it was first deemed that she was presumed dead. So, I guess this is the last bit of the puzzle. I just find, yeah, I'm just really, yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day. I've just finally got some answers. Finally, after 4 years of fighting, I finally got some answers for my son's mental health issues. Now, fortunately, he stayed locked up in his room and didn't do anything crazy. But look, I've heard of lots of, I don't know about you, I've noticed there's lots of young people committing crimes at the moment, and it's breaking my heart. And I know that our mental health system is so screwed up at the moment. So my son spent 4 years in his room, really not socializing. Finally, I convinced them to put him onto some antidepressants. It's taken me a long battle. And I've got a different child. And, but because the crime's occurring from kids younger and younger and younger, I'm wondering whether we're failing our kids with their mental health. And I don't want to say, because of mental health this is happening, but there has to be a reason why this is happening. And remember, we're taught when we're teaching that there's a reason. Usually the behavior, there is a greater reason behind the said behavior. Is it a cry for help? Those of you that know, I like to watch Coffee House Crime, and I can still remember there was one crime that was committed by a young guy. I think he ended up murdering his parents, and his parents begged and begged and begged law enforcement to do something about it. And they said, oh, no, we can't do anything because he hasn't done anything. And then, he didn't. He ended up driving drive his car and shoot people. Anyway, he ended up doing something really, really heinous. Really, really heinous. And the parents said we were crying out for help and we couldn't get the help. And he committed this crime. He killed a whole pile of people horribly. And then, he was diagnosed with a condition, finally. But it shouldn't get to these points. People shouldn't have to commit crimes to get the help they need. We should be able to prevent, we should be able to stop, we could prevent crimes if we paid more attention to their crying out. Am I making any sense, or am I just rambling on? Oh dear. Because they're getting more and more violent. There was a stabbing. There was a 16-year-old stabbed just recently. Another 16-year-old, a 17-year-old stabbed a 16-year-old. We've got the 15-year-old shooting in Perth. As I said, nobody at school, nobody was injured. But what is it going to take to get authorities to take mental health seriously? Don't forget, our kids have also been locked up. We had COVID, Everything was shut down. And we're now just saying, society, go on as usual. We've got traumatized kids. We've got kids that don't know how to talk to other kids because they spent time and time and time not talking to anybody, only their families. And now we want them to pretend that, you know, go on to life as happy. There's something seriously wrong. Something seriously wrong at the moment. And I don't know what it is, but my heart is just breaking. And the more I'm seeing, the more my head, the more I'm shaking my head. I'm just devastated. What else can we do? What can we do as a society to help our vulnerable people? It's a delinquent business model. Well, interestingly, I mean, we saw that in the Robo-Debt Royal Commission. I couldn't believe how many middle managers there were in the government. And nobody would take responsibility for anything. And yet behind it all was a trail of destruction. People have to start taking, I mean, you've also got to take responsibility for your actions as well. But we've got to start taking mental health seriously and stop stigmatizing it. Like everyone says, you know, I mean, we've come a long way. We've got further to go, but we're going to have a generation of young people that are vulnerable with mental health issues. So I've done my rant. I've just been ranting. I'm sorry. Oh dear. More businesses than are sustainable in a given market fight for $1 reduced services. Well, that's the problem that we've got. Services are being reduced. And well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of privatized services either, to be honest with you. There's some things that I think the government should be responsible for, and they should be responsible. They should not be private businesses should not be in charge of certain stuff. And I'm not talking about private health services. I'm not talking about private hospitals either, necessarily. But I'm just talking about private services. For example, jails. I don't think they should be privatized. I think the government should be, I mean, ultimately they all should be accountable to government. Of course, the power bill, yeah. That's right. The power bills were supposed to be going down, Grant. So it's been annoying. So anyway, I need to get on, and I don't think, look, if there's anything that comes out from the Caddick, further from Melissa Caddick's coroner's report, I'll definitely let you know. So, but to sum it up very briefly, the coroner has ruled that she's deceased. that, however, what is still unknown is the how and the why. So there's still lots of things unknown. That there's some questions over the initial police investigation, but whether or not that would have changed anything is debatable. That that the husband had made some untrue statements, that we really don't know what he knew, in that there's a time period that he's not said. But essentially, yeah. So as to how and where she died, we don't know, but the coroner has concluded that given all the evidence, that she's deceased. And the other news today is that the 95-year-old woman also passed, and the police officer has been charged. We're just waiting to see whether the charges will be upgraded and to what. It's probably going to be, if it's upgraded, it'll be some type of manslaughter. But as I said, they actually have to show that there is a direct correlation between the tasering and her death. Yes, it caused injuries. Were the injuries there? So they may find that it's easier to get the assault charges than it is for the reckless. Australia don't understand T money, but I guess you do. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know I don't know if I fully understand it, Grant. But I know that I'm just sick of it all. I'm just sick of the fact that we're busting our guts and getting nowhere, and some fat cats are really just getting fatter with money. I mean, when you think that Clive Palmer's like suing Australia, like seriously, because he didn't get a business deal, whoopie doo-dah, you know. How many houses could that build? How many houses could that build for people that need them? You know. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. But look, I hope you'll have a good day. I have to do some uni work now. I've got some stuff I've also prepped for tomorrow. My printer, which hasn't been working, is started to work again. So I need to get that operating while it's still working before it decides that it's going to go on strike again. I might have to pay it some more money to get it back on track. But anyway, as I said, I'll update you with anything else that comes through. But look, thank you for joining me. If you're on the replay crew, hello. Please hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe. Look, I have a membership if you'd like to support the channel. The membership fees go to help go into resources, so that, you know, I've actually got a green screen in my other room, so my plan is to set up my other room as my studio. Still my plan goes into equipment so that I can make this channel bigger and better. There's some, I'm filming some pre-filmed content, so keep an eye out for that. But as I said, I'll keep you up to date with everything that's going. I'll get off my soapbox now, leave it all in peace, and I'll catch you all later. Bye for now.